every day from whatever time. I encourage you to do the morning, right?
Yep.
To choose the morning from 5 a.m., 6 a.m. to whatever time I have to go to work. That's
Yep.
your sacred time, your writing time. And I said, this is the time that you're going to spend to work towards your dream.
Hmm.
Then when you go to work, you're going to simply go to work and you're going to find a way to pay for your day-to-day means, like what you need each day.
Right. The simple bills.
And then you found that, right? You found your job that'll cover bills.
Right. I'm working part time at a front desk of a physical therapy office. It's not glamorous, but I have to be grateful for what we have at this time.
But that's a great thing. And I told you that what's going to keep you sane and feeling like you're moving towards this dream is the daily writing. The daily writing is where you are grasping onto this vision of where you want to be, and the job is where you are dealing with the reality of where you're at currently. So the next piece is going to be goals. So you've been writing a lot.
Hmm.
Now, in our last conversation, I was encouraging you to begin thinking about the first product, the first book that you're going to release.
So right now, my short stories are almost like a collection of like Aesop's fables.
Yeah.
It's every day a short story. There's a beginning and end to it. It takes 2 minutes to read. So how to turn that into a book idea?
Some of the most successful books and pieces of intellectual property are ones where we follow a set of characters through a journey, and the journey spans across multiple books, and we get to become invested in these characters. And Harry Potter, and in terms of the all-time great would be Harry Potter series, but Lord of the Rings, and then if you bring that over to the children's world, we have like the bad guys.
Hmm.
These children's books that follow like a set of stories. There's tons of them, but they follow specific characters so that the children reading them, the parents reading them, can become invested in those characters. But that is a daunting task. And I didn't want that to be your first book, because I was saying on the book side, we should be kind of having a two-prong approach as well. One is like you're writing each day. Right now, you've collected these great short stories.
Yeah, I have over 150.
There's no reason why you can't pick out 10 of those, find an illustrator, and team up to release a series of books that are just short stories while you're then working on the long form series.
Yes, and actually, that is something I need to be held to. I need to make myself accountable more than I did with the PhD application, because uh, I do have enough short stories where I can pick 10.
There's another reason that I wanted you to be on this podcast. Obviously, I feel like your experiences can be very relatable to a lot of people out there. But the other reason that I wanted you on this podcast is this. Did you tell anybody other than me and maybe your sister that you wanted to apply for that PhD program?
Uh, Three people who were supposed to be the people that I needed a recommendation from.
Okay.
Just three
But
friends.
beyond that, it was not a public thing. No.
Nope. Yeah. No announcement. No nothing.
All right. So we generally will, things that we are unsure of, we don't put out into the world because we don't want to let down the people that are around us. We don't want to not live up to our word. We don't want to fail, essentially.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when we have these ideas that we're not sure about, we don't generally speak them out loud. And the problem is, when you're sure about something, I need you to speak it out loud. I want you on this podcast to speak out loud and actually give me a reasonable date in just a minute. I'm actually going to ask you to commit to a reasonable date for your first book that's going to become available. So give me you don't have to answer yet, but what is your fear? What is the fear of this first illustration and this first book?
I suppose the fear is that any criticism of, hey Josh, why are you doing this? This is a waste of time. You have a college degree. You should be going to school. So a a quick yeah a quick uh, insert into what to disturb some of my thinking over the years. I mentioned I grew up with my eldest sister, and I have two other sisters. So I've three older sisters. Grew up with the eldest, and met the other two in adulthood, and the youngest of the three is the one who lives in Indianapolis, and but the other one, she's married with kids, and her husband, years ago when I met them, he didn't think I would be a good influence on his kids because he thought my life was going nowhere. I wasn't doing anything, uh, you know, in a traditional sense that could be a good example to his kids. He just saw me as like a climbing and skiing bum, working part time, seasonally, and so forth. So the criticism that comes in my mind is like, oh, why is this guy writing stories and doing illustrations? It's not going anywhere. It's yeah. So basically that.
Okay, but he already thinks that, and they already
Yep.
think that. So
Yep.
what's to change? I mean, I could tell you right now, hey Joss, what are you doing? You should be doing something of value in your life. Why does that? I mean, let's just assume the worst. Like this fear is completely irrational from
Very
on so many levels. Because number one, let's get beyond number one being who cares. Let's go to number two. Your first book is going to suck. Okay. So that's probably one of the fears that's up there as well, is just like, is the first thing that I put out going to be good enough? No, it's not going to be good enough. It's going to not be that great, but that's how every first product is. Your 10th product is going to be awesome, but we can never get to that unless we start with number one. Let's go to
right.
number three. This fear of somebody else, your brother-in-law or whatever he is.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, for you to become somebody that he would want to have around his children because you are a good influence, you have to publish your books. If you became an author and you became well known, you then would immediately solve that issue. Second,
Oh
who
wow.
gives an F? I mean, if this guy
Yeah.
doesn't want you around your kids because you are a bad influence, that would be a person that, I mean, he's family, so maybe there should be extra consideration on that side. But the first thing that I would say to that person is, you're probably not the right person to be in my life if that's the way that you are thinking about it. But either way, the path to solving every one of these things is in actually publishing.